And I want to say thank you to everybody who has taken the time out to join us today. I'm really excited about today. We do have a special guest speaker, but as is customary, I want to give our sponsors and our core partners an opportunity to share with us any nuggets of wisdom or knowledge they may have access to since the last time we met, which was just a week ago. So, John, I see you on here, my friend. How is the mortgage business treating us today?
It is busy. It's the end of the month, so it's always a busy time of the month for our industry, as you guys know. It seems like we're always busy, but especially at the end of the month, people like to close at the end of the month, as you know, to maybe reduce that per diem interest to a degree. So there's always that glut. Then you add in the fact that it's a holiday weekend, so you have people who may be taking vacation that weekend, so you have some slight bit of staffing issues, but other than that, things are progressing. We're moving nicely into the spring market. Things are very busy. We have really ramped up the hiring of our operational staff. It was already at a pretty high level as a result of the increased refinance volume from last year. So we kept that on. And we've seen about a 70% drop off of refinance volume from last year already, but that's all been replaced by purchase volume. So it says a lot about the market and how incredibly busy you all are and how hard you all are working to kind of get those purchase transactions together. I hear everyone saying that, it's hard to get a contract ratified, but you guys are obviously doing it, because we were seeing them roll in at an incredible pace. But we are seeing a lot of fall through. We're seeing a lot of transactions that you get ratified, and you have a situation where a buyer already feels like they're probably paying a little bit higher, a little premium on the price. So they may be a little more hesitant when something on the home inspection comes through. We're seeing appraisal issues here and there. I'd probably say in about 20% of transactions right now, we're seeing appraisal issues. So that's creating problems slightly. In our market, we see a lot of FHA and VA buyers, so you can't mandate that they guarantee over and above appraised value. So we're seeing some of those deals fall through. So all that to say, we work so hard to ratify these purchase contracts. Anything that we can do on our end to help keep deals together, get things closed quickly, or be an avenue to transition if there's another lender who can't make something happen. Obviously, always give us a call to see if we can make it work, because that's the goal, is to get every transaction to the table and make sure everyone's happy. So really, what I wanted to discuss was simply that from an operational standpoint, we're really picking up. We've added several more underwriters for our area. We've added more processors to try to pick up the slack. So we got to a point where turn time on initial underwrites was creeping up over 2 weeks. And we usually, on a normal year, or normal, even during the spring, we're less than a week. So that tells you kind of just from a volume standpoint, what things are looking like. But same as last week, there hasn't been any major program shifts or anything announced since last week, but rates are staying stable as they were before. So seeing government in the mid twos, maybe creeping up a little bit to the 2.6, 275 range for government with solid credit. We're seeing conventional loans right around 3%, maybe 2.875, maybe 3 1/8, depending on credit score, which is still, as we all know, historically very low. I mean, it's not what we had back in October when we were at the historical bottom, but still very low. It's keeping the fuel in the fire in the market right now as far as spurring people to purchase. But I didn't have anything specific, anything else to really cover today, except to give a shout out to Sage for getting through the turmoil that was the flood in their office. They were already super backed up. I think that just obviously has made things tougher. So it's been great to see their resiliency to push through, and hopefully everyone is giving them a little bit of room to a little bit of slack, considering there was about 6 or 7 inches of water in their office. They've been working out of their houses, so they've been doing a great job getting things done, and definitely want to thank them for always being there when we need them.
I appreciate it, John. Thank you very much. And of course, thanks to Sage. And but we don't cut them any slack. So we got to get our stuff done, right, Candy? So how's your office looking, Candy? So, oh my gosh, is it still a mess over there? So for those of you who don't know, they literally had a water heater burst in the ceiling and it flooded the office over there in Kempsville. How's that going? Yeah. Wow. So
yeah, well, so I mean, ServPro did a great job drying us all out and drilling holes all over everywhere. And now Sussex started yesterday. So hopefully they said it's going to be about 2 weeks.
Yikes.
Back together.
Yeah,
Yeah, but hey, if we can get a bathroom and don't have to go to Kroger, that's all we care about.
we're back in business, baby. Just give me a toilet. That's right. So, oh, very cool. Thanks, John. Appreciate that update. As always, my friend. So I want to introduce you guys to a long time friend of mine, Mr.
I'm glad you didn't say old.
So I took that out of my script intentionally. I swapped it for a long time.
I love it.
But David and I go back probably 25 years. We were both in the mortgage business together way back when. And so I thought it was, it's kind of cool because you come from that mortgage background and you were a mortgage banker for quite a while before you transitioned into the writing and publishing industry. And so I know that, in 2003, you founded the company Morgan James Publishing, and I got a real estate license. And, all these years later, here we are. So I'm really tickled to have you join me today, David. Thank you for that. I think, the content that you write about in your books and that you promote across the country are right in line with some of the goals and ideas behind every entrepreneur. And real estates are by nature entrepreneurs. And so
Yes, they are.
I'm going to ask you to share some of your wisdom and maybe just a couple of guerrilla marketing tactics that we could implement today. But for those of you who don't know or aren't familiar with David, I want to read this little intro. David Hancock is a Wall Street Journal USA Today best-selling author and the founder of Morgan James Publishing. NASDAQ cites David as one of the world's most prestigious business leaders, and he is reported to be the future of publishing. As founder of Morgan James Publishing, he was selected for Fast Company magazine's Fast 50 for his leadership, creative thinking, significant accomplishments, and his significant impact on the industry over the last 15 years. And you have been referred to as the entrepreneurial publisher, which is kind of like a little tongue twister there. But
Right.
What is entrepreneurial publisher? And I have a copy of your book here, your latest book, Performance Driven Thinking. And so I want that to probably be there. You've got the bestseller sticker on that one. So,
That's right.
so tell us a little bit about entrepreneurial publishing and performance driven thinking. And then maybe we'll transition into some guerrilla marketing. And
Absolutely. And I love you, brother. Thank you for this opportunity. It's so good to see your face again. Although we were inseparable for 10, 15 years, we don't get a chance to see each other as much anymore. And every time I see you, I'm like, I love this guy. But yeah, thank you. So it's all intertwined, though, to be honest with you. The guerrilla marketing, the performance-driven thinking, and the banking. It's just, and Jonathan, by the way, great little presentation, but man, my heart bleeds for you because I was in that industry for a long time when rates were 9%. Right. But for me, I never imagined doing something different. I loved banking. I loved real estate. I love home ownership. I've been a big fan of home ownership. I bought my first house when I was 20 years old. It was instilled into me, home ownership. And in fact, that's part of the reason why we're a big partner with Habitat for Humanity globally in our publishing business. But I was a banker. I was fat, dumb, and happy. They were paying me stupid money. Now, obviously, Jonathan, I don't want to reveal how much money you might be making, but for me, a college dropout, they were paying me stupid money. And I loved it. I never imagined doing anything else. But as you all could appreciate, I was competing with 1,000 people just like me in Hampton Roads, offering the exact same product and service. Now, for the banking business, it was all named differently, but it was still based on loosely regulated banking products. And I was trying to figure out what could I do to stay on top? What would it take for me to be, a top producer on an ongoing basis and stay there and not compete so much? So I started to immerse myself in anything and everything. Jason would tell you I didn't do any reading or didn't do anything like that before. But about that time when I started to really feel threatened by my competition, I started to study everything, whether it was sales and marketing, whether it was industry specific or not. I read it, I studied it, I implemented it, I bought their courses, I went to their seminars, from Zig Ziglar to Todd Duncan to Bill Backrack to Conrad, Levinson, all the above. But it wasn't until I discovered one book that ended up changing my life and ultimately changed my career, which I wasn't expecting, but there's a specific reason why. And I'll bring that into the entrepreneurial publishing question for you, Jason, it was actually guerrilla marketing. Who here has heard of guerrilla marketing before, that term, or seen anything with guerrilla marketing? So guerrilla marketing is decades old, but it's as fresh as this morning's eggs. It's all about doing unconventional. I love that. I'm going to write that down. That was good, Jason. You remember that? So it's all about doing unconventional things to gain conventional goals. It's really leveraging your time, your energy, and your imagination versus your bank account. Because not all of us have just wads of cash lying around. Now, when I was a banker, the group I worked for, I could spend as much money as I could even remotely justify for marketing and advertising. But so could all my competitors. So we were just outspending each other each month. So I discovered a book called Guerrilla Marketing by Conrad Levinson. It was in its third edition by the time I discovered him. He already sold 1 million copies of the book. And I realized that I was a guerrilla and didn't know it. I was leveraging my time, my energy, and my imagination to gain the business I was getting, even though I could spend as much money on marketing as I needed to or wanted to. That wasn't what was making me successful. And I realized, the things that I was doing, I was adding value to my clients. I was serving their needs over my needs. And even if it wasn't a product that I had, I could connect them with somebody. This is less relevant from a real estate agent perspective, but very relevant from a banking perspective. If I didn't have the right product, I knew John or Jane Doe over at XYZ Mortgage Company could put it together exactly the way the client needed it. Even if it wasn't giving me any money, I wanted to make sure I served my referral source, my real estate agent, the best by making sure they had exactly what they needed. And of course, they ended up coming to me because I was known to be that guy. My competitors couldn't figure me out why I kept giving them business, but they didn't realize all the business that I was keeping. But when I decided to write my first book, I was actually compelled to by Jay Levinson, the guerrilla marketing guy. He and I ended up becoming fast friends. I ended up hiring him as a coach. And one of the first things he shared with me is all those guerrilla marketing secrets that I could just rattle off by memory right now. But the one weapon, they call them weapons in guerrilla marketing, that I had in my arsenal that would give me the biggest impact was the book. He actually compelled me to write a book. Now, who am I to write a book? I dropped out of college. I barely passed English. And here I am stumbling along as a banker and being successful by accident because I had no clue what I was doing, but it was working. But he helped me realize that I was doing something successful. I was doing something that was working. I was creating value. I was creating relationships. I was doing something right. And he compelled me on, how I could write a book. And I ended up writing my first book. It was about, gracious, it's so long ago. It was about marketing, in banking. Because by that time, I was on a wholesale side. So my client was the Jonathans. But the book absolutely changed my life. In less than 8 months, I doubled my income, all by the power of the books. That, for me, that's the entrepreneurial side of books. I didn't care if I made any money on the book. I was making more money. And this is true with most authors. We end up making more money because we wrote a book than we will from the book. But it was almost laughable. I mean, I doubled all my fees and nobody questioned me because I wrote the book on banking, and sure enough, clients that would never give me the time of day started to come out of the woodworks to give me business. All of a sudden, media started to talk to me on a regular basis because I was the only local guy who wrote a book on the banking business, and something happened in banking on a daily basis, especially with rates teetering 9, 10, 11%. It was ridiculous, but it was laughable. But it worked. So one of the things I started to teach all my clients was how they could do the same thing that I did. Just develop a book based on your niche, share your wisdom, and it doesn't matter if anybody reads it, as long as it's good. Doesn't matter if anybody reads it. People will perceive you differently, and it really worked. But by my third book, and 2 of those were co-authored with Jay Levinson. I co-authored 2 guerrilla marketing books with him back in the day. Just the relationship with my publishers was horrible. I had none. They bought my book. They gave me a little bit of money and then screamed at me for the rest of my life on how come I wasn't selling enough books. Now I'm a Wall Street Journal best-selling author. I mean, I'm still selling books left and right, but it's never enough for my publishing. But they didn't offer me any help. And every time I wanted to speak on the product or get on media, I had to make sure that I was not giving away too much content. I had to get my PowerPoints approved by the publisher. They just got in my way. And then I realized that was typical publishing. So I, in my infinite wisdom, sat down with Jay Levinson and said, Jay, somebody's got to fix publishing. And he said, well, the only person that's interested in doing it is you. So I don't want to. I got a great day job. But yeah, I decided to launch Morgan James, which is my two kids' names, in 2003. And I had nothing to offer except my rugged good looks, which was questionable, and my really good idea. And I earned the way, into banking, but I wanted to bring to banking what Guerrilla Marketing brought to me and my clients. Is I wanted to care about, their success, solve their problems, help them do the things that I did with the power of a book, and ultimately one day, hopefully have credibility, distribution, opportunity to hit lists and things like that. And then teach the authors how to earn money because of their books. Because, if you're doing that, if you're the authority in the space and you're creating waves, people will buy whatever product you're selling. And they trust you because of it. If you're marketing right and becoming that authority in their eyes, that proper go-to person. There's a number of different ways to do it. Writing a book is like the best, but there's many other things you can do to be that go-to person. And I'll share some wisdom with you as well. But it just transformed my life. I ended up quitting the day job as a banker in 2005, which was amazing because it all crashed and burned in 2008. So perfect time.
You got out just in time, I think. Yeah,
I know, right? Just in the nick of time. So that's my brief story, probably a little convoluted, but that's what, I tried to create an opportunity for even if they're W-2 employees, is to be entrepreneurial, with their content, to stand out, above everybody else and earn the right to make the ask and earn that respect. And it's been brilliant.
And I think that's one of the places that, a lot of agents struggle is in finding that niche or finding that method to differentiate themselves, because so many of us look like, we all do the same thing. We all provide basically the same services, but it's the level of services that we can use to distinguish ourselves, or it is as simple as our own personalities and our ability to relate to the clients that we work with. And so, for you decided with Jay's help that writing a book would be a way to differentiate yourself and present yourself as the expert in an industry. And I know that there's still a lot of real estate agents that follow that path, and it's very, very effective. But you can also do that with things like video today, or newsletters today, or anything that is consistently putting you in front of the consumer as an authority figure or as an expert in your niche. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Just doing the things that make us all uncomfortable. Intentionally every day will become comfortable, but will have some of the most significant impact on the people that will follow you or checking you out, or if you get connected with somebody, they'll come back to you because they trust you, they like you, they feel like you know what you're talking about. And the things like the videos, like still maintaining something as simple as a blog, having active social media where you're teaching more so than trying to collect a client, those are the things that are very, very impactful.
I love that. Yeah. So Steve Harney, says to have the heart of a teacher is to be the best that we can be. And so, yeah, I think what you're saying is right in line with that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Guerrilla marketing, for example, is, and I love that definition. It's using what did you say? Unconventional to obtain the conventional results.
Yes.
So I remember years ago, probably when you were first writing the Guerrilla Marketing series, there was, you had these things in the office, and it could be almost anything, could be considered guerrilla marketing. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money.
Right.
I think that in a nutshell is guerrilla marketing. It's how can I, with little money and little advertising budget, expand my reach. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some guerrilla marketing tactics that you've used or seen other people use?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with first those who have an existing client base. We can talk about other ways if you're just now starting out in the industry. But for some of us who have an existing client base as a real estate agent, So I understand from my guerrilla marketing training in the years I spent with Jay before he passed away that 68% of all business is lost due to apathy after a sale or after the transaction closes. You have an enormous amount of resources in the people that you've already closed. Literally maintaining a good, close relationship with your past clients can be immeasurable. I'll give you a great example. In March of 2020, I bought $1 million house on the water because the agent that I was working with swinged by their house at Thanksgiving just to give them, a fruit platter or something to say, hey, thanks, for being my client 10 years ago. And it said, oh, by the way, if you're ever thinking about selling, I know the kids are getting older, things like that. And he said, you know what? You're so right. Fred, whatever his name is or was, I don't have to tell you that. But he said, we were thinking about that. Sure, the kids are going to be graduating this year. And we're thinking, this is a big house. We should probably get out of it. And maybe one day we'll put the house in the market. And that day, happened to be, coming soon. So when my agent went out there to do her regular visit, just to say thank you for a 10-year-old past client, 10 years. Most of us would have given up after the first year, but this is about maintaining relationships. She did an amazing job. So sure enough, when she said, hey, I've got this house that fits all the things you want, it's not for sale. I'm like, why are you wasting my time? Of course, I didn't say it like that. I said it in love. She said, no, but wait, they're thinking about selling this year. And we were thinking about buying this year. And sure enough, put the two together. We saw the house and oh my gosh, we had to have it. We closed in 30 days.
Yeah.
That is one simple thing that doesn't cost necessarily a dime. Now that fruit platter they dropped off may have cost something. But the reality is maintaining a relationship with your past clients is the best way to maintain or succeed in the future. Because everybody talks about, the house they're buying, and a lot of times they talk about the process. Sometimes they loved it, sometimes they hated it. They remember how you fixed it, or they have a relationship with you. If you can maintain that with them to help them in their transition, but just stay connected to them without really asking for anything, just staying in their circles. And so much easier today with social media than it was in the past. But that is a phenomenal way to stay in front of potentially new clients, is by staying in front of your old clients, because they have friends. And somebody says, man, who was that agent you used 5 years ago? I don't remember. That's the worst thing you can imagine saying. So that's one guerrilla marketing tip I'd love to share. And that doesn't, like I said, doesn't cost anything. You've got to go back through your database. You got to find them out. You got to call them. You got to check on them. You got to swing by, drop them a card, something. But face-to-face is best if you can connect with them somehow. I had, that same agent, brought me a bag of masks during COVID. Hey, you thought you might want some of these. They had her logo on the side of the face. Just make sure your family's safe. Here's a bag of masks. It costs probably 15 cents a piece. So those are some really, really powerful things, but tapping into that 68% of business that's lost because we don't follow up like we should.
Man, I love that. I wish I'd have thought of that mask idea. That is brilliant.
I know, right?
That was so good. That is a straight out of the book guerrilla marketing tactic right there. That is absolutely huge. So very, very cool. It can be flyers, it could be bulletin boards, it could be, and now with the onset of social media, I mean, it has obviously changed the world, and we're all looking for the most effective way to market ourselves on social media. And there's a bazillion different gurus out there, that tout and train and talk about social media, but how do you use social media in your business? Are you on, are you TikToking it up or, anything like that?
I'm terrified of social media, but I've got to be there, and I don't do really well in video. You can see that. So there's not as much of me in social media that you would need to have, because you're the face of your business. So you got to really be comfortable with being in front of camera, but it's a great opportunity, but you do need to be at least perceivably everywhere. And you need to be consistent. So you need to be on all the platforms, because sometimes, again, like I said, guerrilla marketing is all about sometimes seeing you in multiple places, multiple times before they remember who the heck you were. So you've got to stay in front of them, but you got to be consistent. To be consistently showing up in their feeds, being consistently remembered, you've just got to just do something on a regular basis. I use help. I use a tool called Buffer. That's buffer.com, buffer.com. And what I do is I just schedule out 2 months worth of post, because I don't have time to do something every day. And I'll just pre-schedule posts, whether they're images, whether they're inspirational quotes, whether there's tips, or whether there's an accolade that I'm sharing or something. I can always do something manually if I want to, but I have literally buffer out information to Instagram, to Twitter, to Facebook, to the private groups I'm on, just on a regular basis, so that I don't have to remember to, but it happens all automatic in the background, and people see it, coming up in their feed, and I didn't necessarily have to do it that particular time. Now, for you guys, you need to include your face. I include, images of mountains and things like that because you've seen my face. But just doing something consistently in all those platforms would be very, very important, and it's also free.
Right. And I think Buffer is there's like a Hootsuite. There's a couple of them that will auto post your content and will allow you to free schedule it. And I think that it is probably a good idea because we all get kind of backed up in our, we all have fires that arise every day and we get distracted, and so we don't do it.
And don't be afraid to talk about those fires, because all homeowners know that issues arise, but they don't know how they're solved. So don't be afraid to say, hey, don't give names, but hey, this fire came out. Here's how we put it out together. Let's see if we can help prevent that from the future. But here's what one would do. Again, just giving great content that kind of eases their stress in that situation before they realize, what's going on, or before they decide not to move or not to buy a house or not to, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. One of the things that I'm a really big fan of is direct mail. And so, I encourage everybody to
Still
consider
powerful.
a direct mail campaign. Yeah, farming, find that neighborhood, that's not already being dominated by a particular agent, and try to show yourself or display yourself as the expert in the neighborhood. I'm a huge fan of that. And one of the things that people run into though is they say, well, I mailed 500 postcards and nobody called. So I'm going to try this neighborhood over here. And you were just talking about consistency, right?
Yeah.
And everything I've read and everything I've heard about direct mail is, if you're not willing to do it for a year, then don't do it. Because it really takes a commitment to be consistent.
Yeah. But back in the day, probably about the time that I met you, Jason, I worked for a residential developer, and we did everything by direct mail. I would mail out 300 letters, and then I would call them the day that I would expect that their mail to arrive in their mailbox. Took a little extra effort, didn't cost me anything. And I'd say, hey, I'm the knucklehead who just sent you that letter. And I would, chat with them, and it was like, it worked. But I'd close like 17 houses every time I did the mailing. Now, I didn't have to do it monthly, but we did it on a regular basis. I'd go build those 17 houses, or that was the plan. And then we'd mail out more letters. Then we'd go build and we mail more letters. The direct mail still is very, very powerful. But the thing that made it successful for me was the phone call. And it's easy to find phone numbers, for anybody. But if you can get them, or if you're using a list, that you've had in the past, but if you can find the phone numbers, then that's perfect. And what we did is we marketed to the expired listings, which certainly all of you could do. The MLS had the phone numbers of the homeowners. So there were ways to do it. But again, think out of the box, take the extra step, the uncomfortable step, and it can make you phenomenally successful.
Yeah. No, I love that. And certainly we've got resources to get phone numbers nowadays with all of the new technology companies coming around, and the Red X and the Vulcan 7, and there's a lot of different options out there, and I love that. I don't personally, I'm one of those guys that are afraid of the phone. If I look at it's like a 500-pound weight, and I just can't pick it up and call a stranger because I'm afraid they're going to say no to me, I guess.
It's okay.
Maybe I'm afraid they're going to say yes, and then what do I do? So, but I do send out direct mail, and it does generate calls, and so.
Jason, I have a secret for you, and everybody else can listen in. So I don't have time to pick up the phone because I am literally on calls every day, all day, every day. I mean, I'm booked out all the way through like July. It's ridiculous, and I love it. But I don't have time to just pick up the phone and just call fresh for a cold lead. So what I use something called, you're gonna laugh, it was created by a couple of college kids, called Slide Dial. So what Slide Dial does is it will call and leave a message on your phone without them answering it. It just bypasses the ringing of the phone and goes straight to the voicemail. And so I have these audio recordings that I do for my clients who are authors, in essence, though they don't buy anything from us but books, but I still want a relationship with them. So I have pre-recorded messages that at a click of a button, and my assistant does it for me now, it'll call all these phone numbers I tell it to and say, hey, happy pub date. Or, hey, congratulations, your book just got accepted. Now, if it hits in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, I will make time to call that person live and in person, of course. but I'll leave voice messages over the years with my clients. And I'll get a phone call from John or Jane Doe author and say, "Oh, I just missed your call. Thank you so much for remembering. It was a pub anniversary 5 years later." I was like, "Absolutely. Who is this again?" No, I wouldn't do that. But, and slide out was like 15 cents, if that. I buy them in bulk, but it just goes straight to the voicemail. It's something that doesn't require any effort, takes zero time, to do it. I click a button and then select an audio, and it's just like, once you set up, it's really, really easy. But they're hearing from me on a regular basis, unexpected times, and now I'm in a quandary. If I forget to do it one year, they're going to call me. "Why didn't you wish me happy anniversary on my 19th anniversary?" It's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But it really has an effect on them, and they talk about me. It works. So that's another great little guerrilla marketing tip. So slide dial. The college kids that created it, side story, were trying to figure out how they could call into work without having to talk to their boss and tell them they're not coming in. So they created this system that would bypass the ringing of the phone and go straight to the voicemail. "Oh, I called you, boss. You didn't answer. So I just left a message that I'm not coming to work today. Hope that was okay."
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use that, Stacia. So be looking for my voicemail.
Right.
So,
Jonathan, you could do it. You could call your clients every,
Wouldn't
whatever the
surprise me,
rates,
Jason.
right? So you can call your clients, your agents every week and say, "Hey, rates are going up. Lock it in now."
so tell us a little bit more about so you started out writing a book to promote yourself as an authority figure in the mortgage industry, and it
Right.
worked really, really well. And so then I guess it sounds like you started inviting other people to write a book to present themselves as an expert in their industry. And you found a problem with traditional publishing. So you started Morgan James Publishing to be different or non-traditional. So what does that process look like now? And are you, I guess you're still helping people write books, right? Or
Right.
realize their dream of writing a book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I never imagined leaving the day job as a banker, but I became so passionate about what that book did for me. Jay Levinson shared his wisdom with me, and I literally doubled my income. And they're, again, like I said, they were already paying me stupid money, so I was like really happy. But I became so passionate about this works, and literally, I stopped spending $100,000 a month in marketing and dropped down to about 10 grand. And my boss loved me because of it, but I didn't need to spend that kind of money. So I was like, I was trying to help others do what I did so they could be successful. And it just became this side passion for me. But then everybody that I was recommending to write books, and then friends I made in the writing space were all having the same issues that I were having. No relationship, never could make them happy, had to get permission, affordable, or I couldn't buy my books from them affordable. I could only buy copies at an author discount to like 500. Above that, I had to pay retail price. And I gave away thousands upon thousands of the book as my business cards. It was wonderful. But I had to pay retail for them. I thought really was sucky for me as an author. Now, even though I was making money, I still didn't think it was fair. So when I launched Morgan James, I wanted to add the exclusivity, the credibility, the opportunity, the distribution, that a typical house has. How to get there, I wasn't quite sure, but I wanted to do it. But also wanted to help the authors realize what they could do with the book, to become that authority, how they can make more money because they wrote it, but hopefully give them, credibility and exclusivity and things like that, but stay out of their way as an entrepreneur, but give them the resources that they need from a marketing perspective, because nobody knows how to sell a book. In fact, we don't even want to buy books. None of us are out there looking, where can I buy my next book? But we're compelled to buy books because we meet somebody like me on a Zoom, or you read something in an article in the paper on the web, or you see their social media and they happen to have a book and you want more from them. Then people will buy the book by the thousands once they realize you're the right person, saying the right thing at the right time to the right audience.
Man, I love that. Yeah, right person, right message, right time. That's what I talk about direct mail in that same exact way. It's really comes down to having the right message, hit the mailbox at the right time, and you have a very, very good chance of being the one that they call. If their previous real estate agent, right, if they're a homeowner, hasn't done a very good job of keeping and maintaining that relationship, like yours obviously has. And the 68% of businesses lost after the sale. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, due to apathy after the sale. Absolutely.
Yeah, because we we don't commit to maintaining that relationship. We say, okay, next, you know. And so it's really, really crucial. One of the other books that I absolutely love is no, I can't find it, but it's written by Joe Stump. I don't know if he's one of your guys or not, but he talks about referrals and relationships and the importance thereof. And it
Yeah.
literally is the least expensive, most effective method of building or maintaining any business, is the relationships that you keep. And so,
And fewer than
obviously,
1% do it, by the way.
and
If I,
yeah, you've done
fewer than
a really
1% will
good
do
job of that. So,
it.
so I'm going to pause here for a second because I want to share my screen, but I invite anyone to jump in, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And I'm just going to see if I can share this. I pulled this up today. I don't know if there's any of these look
Oh
familiar
my gosh.
to you. So these are David
Awesome.
Hancock titles. His most recent, I believe, is performance-driven thinking. And so,
Yeah.
so what is the thought behind performance-driven thinking, and what is that book about?
So you'll definitely see a tie-in to our conversation today. So the definition, as we see it, of a performance-driven thinker is it's the thought process that connects the desire to perform with the will to perform to obtain a specific task or goal. In other words, being willing to do the things that will make you successful and wanting the success that comes from it. We all want it. We're not all willing to take the work that's inside of it, but when you do the combination of the two, it can be very successful. It really is a challenging journey that will make you think about why you're not successful or why you're successful and your friends aren't. It really makes you think outside the box to realize that it is a choice you're making every day. You're either going to perform well or you're going to perform poorly. It's your choice on what's going to happen that particular day. So it's one of my favorite books. It was the first book to hit the Wall Street Journal. It actually landed on the USA Today bestseller list for me as well. And I've got like 19 books out. So I'm really, really proud of performance-driven thinking. The one next to it is also one of my favorite ones. The Entrepreneur Author was one that I co-authored with Conrad Levinson, and it's all about the entrepreneurial mindset of being an author. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal book, and what an honor to publish. I think I've published close to 9 books with Jay, and then as a company, we actually published most of the Guerrilla Marketing books, even past his death. I'm actually chairman of the board of Guerrilla Marketing International, so there's still a thriving community around guerrilla marketing. Oh my gosh, those are some great books. The Secrets of Master Marketing. I didn't even tell you this story. So that was the first book I published. I had 0 input in the cover, 0 input in the title. I hated it. And in fact, when I got the book, they added 3 chapters to it. And I was frustrated, but that was my first book. And I just, again, typical publishing, they buy your book, they do all the things they think are right with you, and then you're responsible for selling it. It worked, but I hated it, but it worked. So then I went back and did 2 editions of Guerrilla Marketing for Mortgage Brokers. They weren't published by Houghton Mifflin, which is the company that published most of the Guerrilla Marketing books before we came onto the table. But they were a company called Imprint Books in New York City, and they gave us lots of frustrating. In fact, that book, the 2nd edition came out in '99. You guys are going to laugh. They would not let us use the word internet in that book. In '99. Now the internet was here to stay. Now we had a hiccup with Y2K, but I don't think any of us in our right mind thought the internet was going to go away. But my publisher thought that if we referenced the internet, our book would be irrelevant, and they thought we were all going to go back to fax machines on January 1. It was the biggest show. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me for traditional publishing. And then Yes Dear. Oh my gosh, I love that book. It has nothing to do with marketing except for your relationship with your spouse. That book is man's definitive guide to man's definitive guide to the understanding of what we know about the women we love. I mean, how can we go wrong with that? The book is entirely
fast. Yeah,
I know, right? The book is blank. We don't know nothing. The real story is on the back cover, but it was a bestseller at Barnes and Noble, and it's just a tiny book, but it literally is blank. It's just it's a mindset. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Well, thanks for sharing and embarrassing me on some of those old books, but they work. They work.
Yeah, they do. So, so hypothetically, if somebody wanted to get in and maybe consider writing a book at some point, or using some of the guerrilla marketing tactics that you tout, how would they go about getting a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm honored to help out in any way that I can, whether we publish it or not, if I help you find a great self-publisher path, or if I help you find, Random House to pick you up, I'm honored to help out, because I have a passion for, what made me successful, and I love helping other people be successful. But I have a free gift for you real quick. Can I give it real quick before I answer that question, Jason?
Please, absolutely.
So anybody would like a copy of Performance Driven Thinking, the Wall Street Journal bestseller, go to performancedrivenbook.com. That's performancedrivenbook.com, and you can get an ebook edition for free. No obligation to read it. If you love it, tell all your friends. If you hate it, we never had this conversation. But in it, I've got a great small dedication to Jay Levinson. He and I became fast friends. A phenomenal story about his life and his death related to me and marketing. I think you'll probably appreciate a different side of Jay if you've ever read any of Jay's works. But I'd love for you to read that. But I want you to have that, my gift. But yeah, if anybody's interested in what it would look like if you wanted to write a book to really stand out in your niche, I think it's a phenomenal thing. It was the most impacting thing that changed my life over and over and over again over the years, was writing that first book. Not that I'm trying to get you to quit your day job as a realtor, working with Jason, but it can have a significant impact on you. You can email me at david@morganjamespublishing.com, or you can just set up a quick little call with me at your leisure. Go to chatwithdavid.com. That's chatwithdavid.com. And I'll listen to your idea. I've got a wealth of resources I can give you. I got an army of ghostwriters. If you don't think you've got the time or skill, I know I didn't, but I stumbled across it and got it done. I can share with you exactly what I did. And then, whatever you need, I'm honored to help out. Partly because of Jason, but also I have a passion for helping others, as you probably can guess. But go to chatwithdavid.com and just book a call, and we'll talk now or 10 months from now or whenever you want. But definitely get a free copy of Performance Driven Thinking at performancedrivenbook.com.
Very cool, man. Very, very cool. Well, I know that we could probably talk for a couple of more hours at least. It's been a couple of years probably since we've connected for lunch.
Right.
One of the things that you say is, well, everybody's got to eat. So if you want to meet with me, let's meet at lunch. So
I have to eat every day. Every day I have to eat. But yeah, if you want to go to lunch, we just go to lunchwithdavid.com. I'm just no obligation. I'm just saying.
David, I have a question.
Linda.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you bought your first house at age 20.
I did.
Tell me about that story.
So I was, I've got a big family. I say big. I've got 4 children, or one of 4 children. And so I love community, I love family. And my parents just taught me the power of community, the power of being connected, the power of knowing your neighbors, helping each other out. So, renting wasn't an option. It never was talked about as I was the last kid to leave my house. So home ownership was like, that was just where I was headed. So back then homes were more affordable, but, had a good job at the shipyard. I was a shipyard dog going into the apprentice school, and ended up, my wife and I put a contract on the house 6 months before we got married. They accepted it. We bought it. I moved into it and fixed it up. Then when we got married, she moved in, and it was significant. It gave us our nest egg to get into our second house. And it just, we got connected with the neighbors. We started serving the community, and it had an impact on us that's beyond measure. As you know, homeownership can have a significant impact on a family, and especially if they get engaged in their community. But I was compelled by my parents, they didn't make me buy a house, but home ownership was instilled in me. And I still believe today how powerful home ownership is, which is why we as a corporation support Habitat for Humanity. But that's why, if that answers the question, there was no other option for me. It's just, I knew from a financial stability piece to, start setting aside, actually spent 100% of our money on that house in the beginning.
That's
But
what I thought. Yeah.
it was a challenge. We ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but I owned something, and then we managed to sell it, years later for a significant profit. But that's the goal.
was that the one on Hitchens Lane, David?
That's the one on Hitchens Lane. That's right.
I've been there. I remember
You
that.
have.
So,
Jason knew me back then.
So,
Man, we're old.
Old time.
well,
Then I
listen.
was at my
David.
next. Oh, you're more than welcome. Then I was at my next house I built my next house. Now we were there for 25 years, and just got a bug this past year to, go bigger. Dagnabbit. We closed the week the world shut down, so that was no stress whatsoever.
Again, you beat the market. Great.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I could sell the house for $500,000 more than I paid for it today, according to my agent. Not that she's trying to get rid of me, but I know, right?
Probably could. Probably could. So, hey, thank you guys. Thank you, David. We really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate all of your insight as always. And don't forget to get your free copy of the book at performancedrivenbook.com. I love the buffer.com. I love the slide aisle idea.
That's my secret. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. So if I get a voicemail from you, should I just assume it was slide dialed and you didn't really want to
No,
talk to me?
heavens no. I called you personally, directly myself. Just the fact that it didn't ring in your pocket's your fault, not mine.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to catch up again, my friend. Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here today. We'll go ahead and sign off now because I've got someone right over there that needs to write an offer. So yes,
Woo-woo.
Nice meeting everybody.
talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.